What's going on, guys? I'm doing a real quick video. I'm in the basement. I just finished doing a portrait session set up in my house, not down here because this background is not what I use for the portrait today. I could, but I didn't. I used a bigger frame upstairs in my living room and set it up, really nice and big. And I wanted to say that I used the XT2 with the Sigma 18 to 50 to do all the portraits, and I love this lens setup. So I have two standard zooms. I got the Tamron 17 to 70, and then I got this Sigma 18 to 50, both 2.8 lenses. Obviously different lenses for different purposes. I like this one. This is smaller, compact, more for probably run and gun stuff, light. When you want to keep it light, it's a smaller lens but versatile at the same time. So this I use with the XT2 and just use it straight up, just like this. When I use the 17 to 70, I use that for events, and I use it with a battery grip on the XT2 because I want to have, with a one lens, one camera solution on me. That's the way I shoot events at this point, with one lens. The 17 to 70 is versatile enough to give me 25 to 105. So that covers me for everything I would need, for the most part, unless I need something crazy, far, which I don't usually do, especially indoors. And so that works for me. I could still do that with this, but I feel like having a little extra reach definitely can help at times when you want to be the fly on the wall and not really disturb the action. And then it helps balance the battery grip on the XT2 when I do use it, for the event. So I like it. So about today, I use some, this is really about flash, right? I use this lens as a studio lens, basically, and using flash with a black background, and I had a model, and we just really focused on portrait and headshots, really creating some artistic, fine art looking stuff. So we did a mix of color, black and white, and some gel color photography, where we kind of get some either one monocolor of, say, all red, or we do like a blue and a yellow, combination. So just kind of playing around with colors and perspectives and stuff like that. So it really came out really cool. So this was more of an artistic shoot between us, just to kind of create something and have some fun. So I love using this lens for that purpose because it keeps me moving. I don't use a tripod probably much at all, except for these YouTube videos with my desktop tripod. But I have tripods, but I really like to use it because I want to be mobile when I'm doing portraits. I want to be able to change the angle by moving myself, and or the focal length, and so I kind of want to be moving around. So yeah, I'll definitely be sharing some of those photos that I took, and let me know what you guys think. Listen, the Sigma 18 to 50 is a fantastic lens. It's a very, very versatile lens. Has great focal length ranges. It's got the constant 2.8 aperture. For the way I use it, 2.8 is fast enough. Even my prime lenses, I only go to f2. If I'm shooting events, I like to be at f4. I shoot this YouTube video at f4 on the 10 to 24 lens. So I think having ultra fast lenses kind of negates the reason why you get into mirrorless systems. It's the balance between portability and quality. And I think, we got to stop shying away from using flash and bumping up the ISO a little bit, So we got to do that, and really feed your camera light. Light doesn't just come from the natural light. It comes from flashes. I'm using 2 ring lights right now to light this video up. I'm using the f4 lens in the basement. I'm at ISO 800. I'm at the shutter speed of 60. So, because I'm doing 30 frames a second. Feed it. Lights are cheap. You can get cheap manual lenses. You can get, lighting, ring lights at your local Best Buy or whatnot for cheap, or Amazon. Feed your camera light. I think we've been too enamored with all of these 1.2s and 1.8s and all that. I think between the ISO performance and having lights that are cheap and available to us to use, we should use it. Now this brings me to something that a recent purchase. Let me go get it. So, I got a new toy. I got the Godox Lux Junior. So I got on a tangent about flash for a reason. I got this little flash because I like to use flash for my personal photography as well as professional. Professionally, I use, the full-size manual flashes. I put them on my camera. I get the good shots I want, at events. But when I travel personally, I'm usually only carrying a sling bag. I've got a prime lens, and I don't want to have the big full-size flashes. Flashes are made for DSLRs. They weren't made for mirrorless cameras. That's the downside of this new world we're in. We don't have flashes that are made for mirrorless cameras. Small, compact, even if they are professional, they're still smaller than DSLRs. And so that big old hunk of flash sitting on top looks a little strange. It unbalances things, makes it uncomfortable. So that's where this comes into play. I have the Godox TT350F for Fuji, and that's a smaller speed light that looks like the traditional speed light. It's a smaller one, shrinks it down a little bit, so it uses 2 AA's versus 4 AA's that normal flashes would use. This is even smaller, check that out, even smaller. Fits in my hand basically. It's even smaller and really cool. Has enough power, I think, to power anything. It has full power output and go as low as 1/64th power. So that's probably about halfway through a normal flash speed. So a bigger flash will go to 128. So you got another stop down. This only goes to 164. That's not a problem. But it's got a retro cool look to it. Just little slab with some light in the front. It really slips into a bag easily. And I really, really, really like this. I've used it probably for the past week and no issues with it. Works on anything that I have. Another cool thing about it is it does have slave modes. So it does have the slave mode on it. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a switch right here that has S1 off and S2. So you can trigger this with another flash for slave mode. Doesn't have TTL or anything like that. It does have what they consider an automatic mode. I haven't used that, and I don't use TTL in the first place, except for the TT350. I think this has some sort of way to balance whatever your aperture is and your ISO. It has a little dial here. So honestly, I don't care about it. I'm not gonna bother with it. I don't use TTL or automatic for my flashes. I think it's not the best way to shoot. I think you should have your camera set up the way you want it, and then you balance your flash based on distance and power of the subject, and then you just dial it up and down accordingly. To me, that's the simplest, easy. I use flash a lot, and that's how I've always managed to get good shots with flash. Just now doing that as a portrait session in my house. So that's a great to have slave mode up. I love that about this. That's one thing that other smaller old vintage flashes didn't have. They didn't have a slave mode. Modern flashes have slave mode, but this is inspired to be a vintage style. And with that vintage, it still has the modern slave mode built in. So I think that's really cool. So I can use this with even a point and shoot, and that has a built-in flash, and just kind of bring it off camera with slave mode and get some decent, good light. And I like to use that because, again, out with family and, family portraits and stuff, it really makes a difference to just get that little bit of extra light, you know what I mean? So I really like this. I really want to see more compact flashes like this. I think this is a market that camera manufacturers really need to get into more, and I think Godox is kind of walking that line. They did the TT350, now they got this Retro Lux Junior, and I think it's fantastic. My Fuji cameras like the X-T2 and the X Pro 2 don't have built-in flashes. They do have the excellent Fuji EFX8. Let me show you that. So you do have this excellent EFX8, and I think this is a pretty good flash for the size. It's even smaller than the Godox, so even smaller, but this is proprietary to Fuji. So you could not use this with any other system. This, however, you can use with any. You know, it's a manual flash, so you can use it with any camera that will trigger a flash. This, however, you can only use with Fuji. So, as genius as this is, the problem is you can't use it with anybody else. So, yes, I have two of these for my X Pro 2 and XT2. But I really like this. For one, it's got little bit more light spread. And yeah, this one's more compact, but this is still not big by any means. So I like it. So yeah, I'll probably do more, and I'll probably take some test shots of these, and I'll share them, you know, either as a video or as a short or something, because I think this is something that people need to consider, especially if you got a retro style camera like in the Fuji, Olympus, you know, maybe even the new Nikon ZF camera. This would be a nice look to it. It looks vintage, got that nice look to it. So check it out. That's all I got. Peace, y'all.